How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing: always protect your profits. And before I get started, I hope you guys enjoyed your long weekend, and we're going to be talking about Lucid and as well as for SOFI. We saw a lot of volatility in the markets today, but you know what? We are not shocked. I told you guys what to expect for the month of September. I won't waste any more time. If you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know that we have timestamps down below inside the description to make navigation easy for you. So let's get into those videos and I'll give you guys my final thoughts afterwards. So we're going to take a look at the chart for Lucid. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $14.61, being down 3.63%. On the low, it tested $14.58, and then on the high, testing $15.13. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 17.137 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 13.909 million shares. So you could see that we did have above average volume on the day, but we dealt with a good amount of selling pressure. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is a daily chart, you can see from our moving averages, we are trading below all of them, which is the 50 EMA, the 21 EMA, and as well as the 9 EMA. And when we take a look at our candle for today, we ended up forming a lower low and as well as a lower high. So of course, this is not a good sign. If you guys remember, we left off on our previous videos talking about levels that you want to watch: 1426 and as well as 1325, which is where we have our 52-week low. Now that we close at 1461 and then we ended up testing a low of 1458, I think you guys can all agree with me that 1426 is going to be right around the corner. But then we want to see if Lucid could hold 14 bucks. But in my personal opinion, and also being in the month of September, I see us coming down to the 52-week low. So for all of my investors out there, I would continue to exercise some patience. If you want to see a turnaround out of this play, it ended up seeing a high at $15.13. So it needs to break back above 15. If it is able to do that, then you want to see if it can make a move to 15.30, gain some momentum, and then reclaim the 9 EMA at 15.64. And that's where things can really start getting interesting for Lucid. But in my personal opinion, it looks like it will continue to be bearish. So just keep that in mind if you're going to be trading it or whether you're thinking about taking an investment. Let's move on. So we're going to take a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information for Lucid. So scrolling down on the page, green rows indicate new positions while red rows indicate closed positions. So when we take a look at the recent filings we have here for September, we have a Monday that ended up actually having a value change of 5.17%, so reducing their position. Their share total is at 151,346 shares. We also have IFP Advisors Inc. with shares of 7,077, and we have no value change at all. And then when we see Royal London Asset Management Limited, they have 174,871 shares, and for the value change, you can see it was decreased by 20.42%. When we take a look at the short interest, the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 61.62%, and then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 3.05 million shares. Scrolling down on the page, the short shares availability is at 750,000, updated 26 minutes ago. And then for the short borrow fee rate, it is at 8.48%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the first, it was at 62.75. And then for the close of the second, being at 61.62. So that is up there. And then when we take a look at the short interest percentage of the float being at 20.68%, Lucid does continue to have short squeeze potential. So we're going to take a look at the chart for SOFI. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $5.65, being down 1.57%. On the low, it tested $5.57, and then on the high, testing $5.79. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 27.556 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 51.35 million shares. So we had well below the average in regards to volume, and we've seen a pullback in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is a daily chart, chart, you can see we're trading below all of our major moving averages, which is the 50 EMA, the 21 EMA, and as well as the 9 EMA. And we also do see that we did form a lower high and as well as a lower low. So of course, this is not a great sign whatsoever. And if you pay attention to the levels that I pointed out from the previous videos, was 576. We ended up having resistance at 579. So knowing that we broke through that level, the next area that you want to watch SOFI get to is $5.15. Will it be able to pull this off for this coming week? It is very doable, so I just want to make sure that you guys are keeping this on close watch. We do have the 52-week low, which is right here around $4.82, so I suggest you add that to your homework. Will we get down to $4.82 for this week? I'm personally not seeing it, but if we get there, don't be surprised. I would expect that SOFI would be aiming to at least hold $5 by the end of this week, and then for next week, I can see it wanting to break below that level, but at least you guys know what's up. If you're looking for a turnaround or you want to see a move to the upside, of course it needs to break above the high of the day, and you want to see a move going to $6. This is actually where we have the 9 EMA as well, so if it's able to hold support and gain some momentum, we could see a move going to around $6.10, and then seeing if it can get to $6.25, which is another area of interest that you want to watch closely if it decides to reverse. So at least you know what it looks like. Let's see what it does going into tomorrow. So we're going to take a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information for SOFI. So scrolling down on the page, green rows indicate new positions, while red rows indicate closed positions. When we take a look at the recent filings for September, you can see here for the second, we have a Monday, they have shares of 115,527 shares, and we could see that the value change is 96.40%. And as far as CI Investment Management Inc., you can see they have 44,133 shares, and the value change is at 44.39%, and that is a reduction. And then for IFP Advisors, you can see 67,775 shares, and there's no value change at all. Now, when we take a look at the short interest, the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 43.88%, and then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 6.86 million shares. Scrolling down on the page, short shares availability is at 10 million, updated 28 minutes ago, and then for the short borrow fee rate, it is at 1.06%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, you can see for the close of the first, it was at 41.53, and then for the close of the second, being at 43.88. So that's a little bit of an increase. And then when we take a look at the short interest percentage of the float being at 15.19%, SOFI does continue to have short squeeze potential. So for my final thoughts for Lucid and as well as for SOFI, let's start off with SOFI. So we've seen a lot of selling pressure inside of the markets happening with small and mid cap stocks, and seeing SOFI pull back is not surprising whatsoever. And that's why I said for anyone who's an investor out there, wait for the pullback. We are getting very close to our 52-week low, which is right around the $4.80 range. And knowing that we are now trading in the mid $5 range, and knowing that we could come down to $5.15, if we end up breaking below that, that's where we can get to that 52-week low. So please be patient if you're looking about building a position, because if we decide to also break through that 52-week low for this month, it can get very interesting, and I want to see where SOFI could potentially go. Now, as far as for Lucid, I know there's a lot of people that come to my channel and say, well, you know what, you're such a hater, you don't know what you're talking about, this stock is not going to pull back. Well, look what's happening. I pointed out the levels again. I was saying watch 1426, and you know what, we're getting closer and closer, and I know that we will get there for this month. And the 52-week low, I could see Lucid will revisit it. We also know that there's a lot of short interest, which is the same as for SOFI. So the pressure that's on this stock, and taking into consideration the month of September, I don't see any reason why that it will not test that 52-week low. If it decides to show some strength after pulling back to $14, things can get interesting, but like I said, be patient if you're thinking about building a position. There's no rush whatsoever. We also have to take in consideration the economic conditions. If you are trading inside of the stock market, I would highly suggest that you keep a very close eye on DXY. So this shows us the strength of the US dollar. It had quite the movement for today, and knowing that it was moving up and the stock market was pulling back, the reason why this is significant when it comes to the hedge funds, the banks, the institutions, when we know that the dollar is strong, it makes it more expensive to be buying up stock. So that's why we're going to have a lot of selling pressure. Also,
also keeping an eye on the 10-year treasury yield. When I was taking a look at it this morning, it was over 3.24%. So if that's continuing to rise, it's going to make growth stocks even more expensive to purchase because, again, they are risky. A lot of these companies are not consistently profitable, and you already know that's the case for Lucid and as well as for SOFI. So when you see this pullback and you're an investor, or maybe you're thinking about taking a position, that's why you need to do some more homework and figure out if the play is going to be right for you. And for my traders out there, you already know the deal. Watch those levels so you can find out where you want to buy your calls or where you want to buy your puts. And if you're sticking with shares, it's when to go long or when you want to go short. So let's see how these stocks perform. I will continue to keep inside of the loop, and we'll be talking real soon.